The evacuation alarm echoed again across the ruined plain. Smoke rolled over broken metal and burning soil. Dropships lifted one by one, engines roaring as they escaped the dying battlefield. Orders were clear. Everyone still moving was to leave. Anyone not moving was already counted as lost. The alien girl lay between two shattered transport frames. Her leg was twisted at an angle that made standing impossible. Dark blood soaked into the dust beneath her. The pain was sharp, but worse than pain was the silence. No one was coming back for her. They never did. She had known this moment would come one day. Her species was used for support roles, scouting, and labor. If they survived, it was good. If they died, it was acceptable. She had been taught that since childhood. Do not slow others down. Do not expect rescue. Do not hope. Heavy footsteps passed nearby. She closed her eyes, expecting either the mercy of a quick end or the emptiness of being ignored. Instead, the steps slowed. A human soldier stood a few meters away, rifle lowered, helmet turning as his scanners swept the area. His armor was scratched and burned, marked by battle. He had already crossed the line where turning back was considered foolish. His visor paused on her heat signature. Command crackled in his ear. Last call, all units evacuate now, enemy reinforcements incoming. He looked at the dropships lifting into the sky, then he looked back at the alien girl. She opened one eye. Humans were strange, loud, fast, dangerous. She had seen them fight, throwing themselves into chaos without fear. If he decided she was a threat or a burden, she would not be surprised. "Please," she whispered, though she did not know if he could understand her language. "It's fine. You can go." The human did not raise his weapon. He did not turn away, instead he knelt. Up close, she saw his visor retract slightly, revealing tired human eyes. There was no pity in them, no disgust, just focus. "Yeah," he said quietly, more to himself than to her. "That's not happening." He cut through the twisted metal, trapping her leg with a small plasma tool. She cried out despite herself. He paused, slowed his movements, and spoke again, his voice calm. "I've got you. I won't rush it." No one had ever said those words to her before. Explosions sounded in the distance. Enemy drones were moving closer. The human finished freeing her leg and injected a pain stabilizer. Then he lifted her carefully into his arms. She was light, too light. That, too, was something she had learned to accept. As he moved away from the evacuation zone, her mind raced. Humans were not supposed to do this. They were not obligated. Saving her gave them nothing. "Why?" she asked weakly. He adjusted his grip and started moving faster. "Because you're still alive." They disappeared into the broken terrain just as enemy forces swept through the abandoned battlefield. To the galaxy, both of them were now missing, presumed dead. The wasteland stretched for kilometers. Broken cities, fallen towers, and old battle scars from wars long forgotten. The human moved with purpose, using shadows and debris for cover. He checked his scanner often, changing direction when needed. His movements were careful but not hesitant. She drifted in and out of consciousness. Each time she woke, she expected to be alone. Each time he was still there. Eventually, he found shelter in the remains of an underground service tunnel. It smelled of rust and old water. He set her down gently and removed his helmet fully. His face was younger than she expected. Lines of exhaustion marked his skin. He cleaned her wound with what little medical supplies he had. His hands were rough, but his touch was steady. "You're going to need real care," he said. "This is just to keep you stable." She watched him closely. "They will punish you," she said. "For me." He shrugged. "They'll survive." She almost laughed, then stopped when pain flared. Silence filled the tunnel, not an awkward silence, just quiet breathing, two lives hiding from a galaxy that had decided they did not matter. After some time, she spoke again. "My people are not worth trouble." He looked at her sharply. "Who told you that?" "Everyone," she replied simply. He did not answer right away. Instead, he leaned back against the tunnel wall and took a deep breath. "Where I come from," he said, We tried that thinking before, deciding who mattered. It didn't end well. She did not understand everything, but something in his tone made her chest feel tight. Outside, patrol lights passed overhead. He powered down all electronics and waited. When the danger passed, he stood again. "We can't stay here," he said. "There's an old relay station about 12 kilometers east. If it still works, we might have a chance." She stared at him. "If they detect the signal, they will come, not to save me." "I know." "Then why go?" He met her gaze. "Because running forever isn't living." The journey was slow. He supported her weight, sometimes carrying her, sometimes helping her walk when the pain allowed. He never complained. When she apologized, he shook his head. "Don't waste energy on that," he said. "You'll need it." They shared small moments along the way. He showed her how humans mark direction using stars. She told him about her homeworld's twin suns. He listened like it mattered. At one point, enemy scouts nearly found them. The human used a broken drone as bait, drawing the scouts away with false signals. She watched from hiding as he outsmarted soldiers far better equipped than him. Fear mixed with something new, respect. By the time they reached the relay station, both were exhausted. The building was old, half buried in sand. Power flickered weakly inside. The human helped her inside and set her down. He examined the control panel, frowning. "This thing is ancient," he muttered, "but I think I can make it scream loud enough." She looked at the dark sky above them through a cracked ceiling. "If you activate it," she said softly, "everything changes." He nodded. "Yeah." She closed her eyes, bracing herself for the moment he would finally walk away. Instead, she felt his hand squeeze hers. "Hey," he said, "you're not alone anymore." The relay station hummed as power surged. A signal shot into space, small, defiant, impossible to ignore. Somewhere in the galaxy, ears would turn, decisions would be made. And for the first time in her life, the alien girl dared to believe that being left for dead did not have to be the end of her story. Part 2. 1600 words Kaleko or interesting Hunachea or third-person style, Ma Lekni Ha or simple basic English Ka or violated free Hona Chai, without short heading the relay station shook as the old machinery pushed beyond its limits. Dust fell from the ceiling. Warning lights blinked in weak red pulses. The signal had gone out only once, but it was enough. Anyone watching this sector of space would have noticed it. The human stepped away from the console and listened. His hand rested on his rifle, but his eyes were calm. He had expected fear. Instead, there was a strange sense of relief. Hiding was over. The alien girl lay on a metal platform nearby. The pain in her leg throbbed, but the stabilizer kept it bearable. She stared at the human, searching his face for regret. She found none. "You did it," she said quietly. "Yeah," he replied. "Now we wait." Waiting was always the worst part. Minutes passed, then an hour. The station's scanners came back online in short bursts, just enough to paint a picture of the surrounding area. The human frowned as shapes appeared on the screen. "Multiple signals," he said. "Not friendly." Her chest tightened. "They came fast." "Too fast," he agreed. "Which means someone was already close." He moved quickly, sealing doors, rerouting power, setting simple traps from scrap and old defense nodes. He explained nothing unless she asked. He trusted her to understand what she could, and that trust felt heavier than fear. Outside, armored vehicles approached the relay station. Not pirates, not scavengers, official forces. The alien girl recognized the markings and felt her hope crack. "Those are recovery units," she said. "They don't rescue, they collect." The human did not argue. He already knew. A voice echoed through the station speakers, translated automatically. "Human soldier, you are ordered to stand down. The asset does not belong to you." Asset. The word hit harder than any weapon. "She's not an object," the human said calmly into the console. "She's injured. She needs help." "Her status is classified," the voice replied. "You are interfering with lawful retrieval. Release her and you will not be punished." The alien girl turned her face away. This was where it ended. This was where he would choose himself. She felt movement beside her. The human crouched, lowering his voice. "They're lying," he said. "You know that, right?" She swallowed. "It doesn't matter." "It does to me." The voice returned, colder now. "Final warning." The human stood and cut the transmission. Almost immediately, the station shuddered as something struck the outer wall. The old structure groaned in protest. "They're breaching," he said. "I'll slow them down. When I say run, you run." She looked at him sharply. "I can't." "You can," he said, "and you will." He pressed a small device into her hand. "This will guide you to the secondary exit. I'll meet you there." Her fingers curled around it, trembling. "Don't lie to me." He met her eyes. "I'm not planning on dying today." The first breach sent sparks and smoke into the corridor. The human moved like he had done this his whole life. He used angles, sound, and timing. He did not fight to win. He fought to delay. The alien girl forced herself to move. Every step hurt, but she remembered his words. "Do not waste energy. You'll need it." She reached the secondary exit just as another explosion rocked the station. She turned back, heart pounding, afraid she would see nothing. Instead, she saw him emerge from the smoke, armor scorched, breathing hard but alive. "Good," he said. "You listened." They escaped into the open desert as the relay station collapsed behind them. The recovery units regrouped quickly, fanning out, tracking heat and movement. The chase began. The human led her through narrow canyons and over sharp rock fields. When she stumbled, he caught her. When she slowed him down, he adjusted his pace instead of leaving her behind. "You should go," she said at one point, voice breaking. "You don't owe me this." He stopped walking. "I don't do this because I owe you," he said. "I do it because it's right." She searched his face. "Even if it costs your species," he exhaled slowly. "If helping one person ruins us, then we were already broken." They hid in an old mining pit as searchlights swept overhead. The alien girl listened to the hum of engines and felt the familiar weight of being hunted. She had lived her whole life like this, always careful, always quiet, always ready to be erased. But now there was someone beside her who refused to accept that. She spoke without thinking. "If they take me, they will use me, study me, break me apart to see how I work." His jaw tightened. "That's not happening. You can't stop them forever." "No," he said honestly, "but I can make it expensive." Hours later, a new signal appeared on his scanner. Human-coded, weak but real. "Looks like my people heard us," he said. Her heart lifted, then sank. "Will they help?" He hesitated. "Some will, some won't." They moved again toward the signal source. Along the way, the human shared pieces of his past, not stories of glory but of mistakes, wars humans had regretted, lines they had crossed and promised never to cross again. "We're not better," he said. "We're just trying to be." She listened, absorbing every word. For the first time, she imagined a future that was not defined by survival alone. They reached a ridge overlooking a temporary landing zone. A small human dropship waited below, engines hot, but it was not alone. Other ships circled, watching, calculating. The human's communicator buzzed. A human officer appeared on the cracked screen. "State your status," the officer said. "Alive," the human replied. "And I'm not giving her up." Silence followed. "You realize what you're asking," the officer said finally. "I know exactly what I'm asking." The alien girl held her breath. The officer's eyes shifted briefly, reading unseen data. "Bring her in," he said at last. "We'll talk." The human did not relax. "That's not a promise." "No," the officer agreed. "It's a beginning." As they moved toward the dropship, enemy forces repositioned, ready to strike if the balance tipped. The alien girl felt the weight of history pressing in. Empires, laws, systems built without her in mind. She looked at the human walking beside her, wounded but unyielding. For the first time, she understood something important. Humans were dangerous not because of their weapons, but because once they decided someone mattered, they refused to look away. And the galaxy was about to learn what that meant. Part 3. 1600 words ka leko or interesting hunachea or third-person style, ma lekni ha or simple basic English ka or violated free hona chai. Without short heading, the dropship lifted slowly from the ground, its engines loud against the open sky. The human stood between the alien girl and the open bay door, watching every movement outside. Enemy ships hovered at a careful distance, weapons powered but not firing. No one wanted to be the first to start a war. Inside the dropship, tension filled the air like static. The alien girl sat strapped into a medical seat. Human medics worked quickly but gently, stabilizing her leg and checking her vitals. They spoke to her even when she did not understand every word. Their voices were calm, respectful. That alone felt unreal. She kept her eyes on the human who had saved her. He remained standing, arms crossed, refusing to sit or relax. His armor was damaged, his face bruised, but his posture was firm, like someone daring the universe to challenge him again. A voice came over the internal comms. Docking with command cruiser in 30 seconds. The human nodded once as if he had expected this. He leaned closer to the alien girl. "Whatever happens next," he said quietly, "remember this wasn't your fault." She shook her head weakly. "It never is. That never matters." "It does now," he replied. The dropship locked into the larger human cruiser with a heavy clang. The bay doors sealed, cutting off the view of the enemy ships waiting outside. Armed human soldiers lined the corridor, not aiming their weapons but ready. As the door opened, a group of officers stepped forward. Their expressions were controlled, professional, but tense. At the front stood a woman with silver markings on her uniform. Her eyes went straight to the alien girl, then to the human soldier. "You caused a political disaster," the officer said. "Then it was fragile to begin with," the human replied. The officer did not smile. "You defied orders. You interfered with classified interspecies agreements. I saved a life." The officer looked at the alien girl more closely now, not like an asset, like a person. "We need to talk," she said, "all of us." The alien girl was moved to a secured medical room. The walls were clean, bright, and quiet. Machines hummed softly around her. She lay still, staring at the ceiling, waiting for the moment when kindness would turn into calculation. Outside the room, the human faced a council call. Faces appeared on the large screen, human leaders, allied representatives, and observers from other species. Some were angry, some curious, some cold. "This individual," one alien representative said, pointing at the alien girl's image, "belongs to a controlled species. Her biology is valuable. Her freedom is not part of the agreement." The human stepped forward. "She belongs to herself." Murmurs spread through the channel. "You are new," another voice said. "You do not understand how stability is maintained." "We understand it very well," the human replied. "We just don't agree with it." An older human official spoke next. "If we comply with the demand to surrender her, we gain trust. If we refuse, we risk isolation." "And if we comply," the soldier said, "we tell the galaxy exactly who we are." Silence followed. The alien girl listened through the open door, heart pounding. She had never been the center of a discussion like this. She had never mattered enough to argue over. A sharp voice cut through the tension. "You are emotional, that makes you dangerous." "Yes," the human agreed. "It does." Outside the cruiser, enemy ships shifted position. Weapons powered higher. Time was running out. Inside the medical room, the alien girl closed her eyes. She prepared herself for disappointment. Hope was a fragile thing. She had learned not to hold it too tightly. The door opened softly. The human entered and sat beside her. "They're divided," he said honestly. "Some want to trade you for peace," she nodded. "That is logical." "Maybe," he said, "but logic without conscience is just math." She turned her head toward him. "If you let them take me, I will not blame you." "I know," he said. "That's why I won't." An alarm suddenly sounded through the ship, a sharp, urgent tone. "Multiple hostile locks detected," a voice announced. Enemy forces preparing to board. The decision had been made for them. Human soldiers moved fast, sealing sections, raising shields. The cruiser shook as warning shots struck its outer hull. The council channel erupted into shouting. Some demanded surrender, others demanded retaliation. The human soldier stood. "They're trying to force our hand." The silver-marked officer looked at him. "If we fight, there's no going back." He met her gaze. "There never is." The first enemy boarding pod struck the hull. The impact rattled the medical room. The alien girl's breath caught as the lights flickered. The human turned back to her. "Stay here," he said. She grabbed his sleeve. "Don't leave me." He paused, then gently placed his hand over hers. "I'm not walking away. I just need to make sure they don't get to you." The fighting was loud and chaotic. The alien girl could hear distant weapons fire, alarms, shouted orders. She lay there helpless, every sound twisting her insides. Minutes felt like hours. Then the door burst open, not violently but urgently. The human returned, breathing hard. "They're pushing hard," he said, "but we're holding." She searched his face. "At what cost?" He didn't answer. Outside the ship, more human vessels arrived. Not a fleet, just enough to choose a side. A new signal cut through the noise, a broadcast open to all channels. "This is a human declaration," the silver-marked officer said, her voice steady as it echoed through the ship. "We refuse to participate in the exploitation of sentient beings. Any attempt to seize the individual under our protection will be considered an act of aggression." The enemy response was immediate. Weapons charged, but something unexpected happened. Other ships, non-human, unaffiliated, shifted position. Some powered down their weapons. Some turned away entirely. The galaxy was watching. The alien girl felt tears slip from her eyes. Not from fear, from something else, something warm and painful. "You're doing this for me," she whispered. The human shook his head. "We're doing this because it's wrong not to." A massive impact rocked the cruiser. The lights went out completely. Emergency power kicked in, bathing the room in red. The human shielded her instinctively. For a moment everything was still. Then the alarm stopped. A voice came over the intercom. "Ceasefire acknowledged. Enemy forces withdrawing." The silence that followed was unreal. The human slowly relaxed, disbelief crossing his face. They backed off. The silver-marked officer entered the room, her expression changed. Softer, heavier. "The cost will come later," she said. "Sanctions, broken treaties." The human nodded. "We know." She looked at the alien girl. "But you are safe for now, and officially under human protection." The alien girl's world shifted. She was not property, she was not an asset, she was protected. As medics returned and the ship stabilized, the alien girl looked at the human beside her. He was tired, wounded, still standing. "What happens to me now?" she asked. He smiled faintly. "Now you get to decide who you want to be." For the first time in her life, the future did not feel like a cage. It felt like a door. And humanity had just kicked it open, not with force alone, but with the dangerous idea that no one should be left behind once they are seen. Part 4. 1600 words Kaleko, or interesting Hunachea, or third-person style, Ma Lekni Ha, or simple basic English Ka, or violated free Hona Chai, without short heading. The aftermath did not arrive with explosions or alarms. It arrived quietly, in reports, delays, and cold messages sent across vast distances. The human cruiser moved away from the conflict zone under heavy escort. Enemy ships kept their distance now, not because they were weaker, but because something had changed. The rules they depended on had been questioned in public, and once that happened, force alone was no longer enough. Inside the medical wing, the alien girl slept for the first time without fear chasing her dreams. Machines monitored her condition, repairing what could be repaired, stabilizing what needed time. Her leg was set properly now. Recovery would be slow, but it was possible. That alone felt like a miracle. The human soldier sat nearby, finally resting. His armor was removed, replaced with simple clothes. Without the armor, he looked smaller, more human. Bruises marked his arms and face. A medic insisted he lie down. He ignored her until she threatened to sedate him, then reluctantly complied. When the alien girl woke, she saw him first. "You stayed," she said, her voice still weak. He opened his eyes and smiled slightly. "Told you I wasn't going anywhere." She studied the room. It was clean, safe, no restraints. No guards posted to watch her like a dangerous object. "This doesn't feel real," she admitted. "Give it time," he said. "Reality has a way of catching up." News of what had happened spread fast, faster than anyone expected. Human media called it a stand. Other species called it a disruption. Some governments called it reckless. Others quietly admitted they were relieved someone had finally said no. Diplomatic channels flooded with arguments. Trade agreements were frozen. Joint operations were canceled. Humanity was warned, pressured, threatened. But something else happened too. Messages arrived from species long ignored, from workers, from minor worlds, from those who had lived under the same system that had almost claimed the alien girl. They were watching. The alien girl learned to walk again with assistance. The human often helped her, steadying her when her legs shook, encouraging her when frustration threatened to overwhelm her. "You don't have to rush," he told her one day as she struggled down the corridor. "My people were never allowed to slow down," she replied. He frowned. "Then it's about time you learned how." She laughed softly, surprised by the sound. It felt strange to laugh without checking first if it was allowed. A council decision came a week later. Human leadership formally declared the alien girl a protected individual, recognized as fully sentient and autonomous under human law. The declaration was narrow, careful in wording, but powerful in meaning. It did not end exploitation across the galaxy. But it cracked the foundation. Other species began asking uncomfortable questions. If one controlled species was sentient enough to be protected, what about the others? If humans could reject the system and survive, why couldn't they? The alien girl was asked if she wanted to speak publicly. The idea terrified her. She had spent her life trying not to be noticed. "I don't know how," she told the human. "You don't have to be perfect," he said. "Just honest." She agreed. The broadcast was simple. No dramatic music, no grand stage, just her seated with the human standing quietly behind her. She spoke about being left behind, about being called an asset, about learning from birth that her life was worth less than convenience. She spoke about pain, about fear. And then she spoke about one human who refused to walk away. She did not beg, she did not accuse, she simply told the truth. Across the galaxy, screens went quiet. The reaction was slow at first. Then it came in waves. Some leaders dismissed her words. Others attacked her character, but many listened. And once people listened, they could not unhear her. Sanctions against humanity followed, trade losses, political isolation. Some human colonies suffered shortages. Protests erupted both for and against the decision. The human soldier watched it all with a heavy heart. "Do you regret it?" the alien girl asked him one night as they looked out at the stars through a viewing window. He thought for a long moment. "I regret that it took so long for someone to do it." She nodded. "They say I caused all this." He shook his head. "You revealed it, big difference." Time passed. The alien girl's recovery continued. She learned human customs, human humor, human stubbornness. She learned that humans argued loudly and cared deeply, often at the same time. She learned that even when they disagreed, many of them still believed some lines should never be crossed. One day, the silver-marked officer visited them. "The galaxy is adjusting," the officer said. "Slowly, painfully, but it is adjusting." She looked at the alien girl. "There are talks about offering asylum to others like you. Not everywhere, not yet, but it's starting." The alien girl's eyes filled with tears. "Because of me?" "Because of you," the officer confirmed. "And because of him." She turned to the human soldier. You'll be reassigned, the officer added. Not punished, but watched. He smiled faintly. Fair. When the officer left, the alien girl sat quietly. I don't know what to do next, she said. He leaned against the window. That's the good part, you don't have to know yet. She considered that. What will you do? Same thing I always do, he replied. Show up where I'm needed, she hesitated. And if I need you, he met her eyes. Then I'll be there. Months later, the alien girl stood on the surface of a human world. The sky was wide and blue. The air smelled clean. She walked without assistance now, slowly but proudly. She was no longer alone. Other survivors joined her, not many at first, but enough to form a beginning. A small community protected, learning, healing. They were not hidden, they were visible. The galaxy did not suddenly become kind. Power structures did not collapse overnight. But something irreversible had begun. Stories spread. Not of weapons or fleets, but of a single moment when a human looked at someone the galaxy had already buried and said no. Years later, the alien girl would tell that story to others. She would say that humanity was not perfect, that they argued, failed, and made mistakes. But she would also say this: that humans were the species who, once they decided your life mattered, would stand in front of empires and refuse to move. And because of that refusal, she lived. Because of that refusal, others would live too. The galaxy would remember many things about humanity. But this was the one thing it would never forget. They did not walk away.